Huge drama yesterday as Chesscom went down. Not because Danny was fiddling with the wires, everyone was champing at the bit to get it back online, as you can see, but they restored it. Fear not, Title Tuesday returned, and in this game we examine Hikaru versus Nan's He-Man, the man with the power, and Hikaru setting a Blitz Chesscom record. History is made. This was one of the games on his way. What a stormer this was. He was playing white here, kicking off with d4, titillating Tuesday, clock times on the left, and this is round 8. Late tournament, here we go. He puts the pow in Trompowski. Personally, I've always said Trompovsky, but potato. He develops the bishop. Now we see pawn e3, the c pawn advances, and Hikaru voluntarily gives up his bishop bear. Now most of the strongest cheese masters like to hold on to it. How to recapture? Hands goes like this. Both moves playable, but he takes towards the center, often advised. Why is Hikaru given the bishops? We really don't know, but it's a solid, stable pawn structure. He's damaged this one a bit. He's got an opening idea in mind, and it starts with takes. Looks risky. You give black the center. Your pieces are undeveloped. Let's see how things develop. This one first played, not the immediate e5, and these are some of the main moves here, right? Hikaru didn't go for that, went for a bit of a sideline, even though he's marginally worse now. Bishop takes, knight f3, a seahorse is spawned, but before that bishop can get too comfortable, it's kicked downtown. Now this knight develops here, very natural of course, you don't want to sit in front of the pawn, and after hands, erects the big black center, or BBC for short. Hikaru should fight back with the explosive c4. He didn't do it. Why is it good? Because after e4 you can throw in this in-betweener. Here's one sample line, picking up tempos, dismantling the black center a little, and here's just how the game could have proceeded, right? This is why c4, best pawn break for white. This one of the most likely continuations, Hikaru playing white, hands with black. This is undoubtedly how the game would have proceeded had he gone for pawn c4. That's a checkmate, move 34. Probably, we're speculating, but he didn't do it. He went bishop e2, we saw e4, and the knight's in a bind. If you go here, disgusting. Now it's attacked. Where are you headed? You have to do something like this, horrendous structure. And if it goes here, well, bang, bang, and then you get f5. And though you can fight back with c4, black is steamrolling here with this kind of thing. Look at the pawns, look at the bishop, look at the attack. It's horrible. So that's why knight g1. Dad's absolutely ashamed as he comes back home from his travels on the starting square. Get back out into the world and make something of yourself. Castle's best for black, but f5 played by hands. Now he did want to set up this overpowered camel toe pawn formation, but now white has options like this. However, Hikaru's so impressed by the camel toe, he sets one up of his own here. This is known as a double camel toe or a camel toe accepted, different naming convention depending where you hail from. And now we see one of Neiman's points to f5. It's f4, charging through the center of the board, going for an attack, opening the eyes of the bishop, but this is a pawn sacrifice. Rook g8 his follow-up, pawn g3, love the enterprising play, piling on the pressure here. The rook covers the c pawn. Now bishop e6 developing. Did get me wondering, can you go c4? Idea being takes, knight takes here, or bishop takes, you know, break up the structure, right? Well, no, this isn't a good move at this moment because bishop b2, rook b1, let's say, bishop c3, and you actually eliminate this important knight which is supporting so much stuff. d4 can come, it's not nice. So no c4 just yet. We see bishop b5, great play because you prepare to develop this loser of a pony stuck back home, and after queen b6, yes, you give up the second bishop, but that knight had a big influence on the dark squares. Now you can develop. First the blockade though, great play, and this is instructive because how should black play? The answer is open the board up for the bishops, the rooks, really pile on the pressure while the king's in the centre. Therefore, a5 is the best move. Distract the knight a bit, game goes on. We won't go down the rabbit hole. e3 not quite working, by the way. The knight jumps, takes with check, king's fine. So we carry on from here. Bishop g4 was played. Queen d2. Again, pushing one of the rook's pawns is best. Feel like a boss, but the 000 was played. It's an exciting game. Andrea's spinning the beats. The knight develops, and look at the blockade on the dark squares. You can't quite make this work. You know, I was trying, I was clicking, but it's just not happening. White can get the king out of dodge, but those are the things you should be looking for in such a position. A pawn down. Neiman knows that. He's trying to arrange pawn to e3, but now Hikaru can get the blockade going. It's getting tough for black. We see h5, very natural idea. Queen e3 blockades, and probably you should carry on here before the toilet gets blocked. But bishop h3 was played. Stops the king from castling. I learnt that little phrase from Hikaru, right? There's more to come. King d2 now gets the running shoes on. I mean, we know Hikaru's an athlete, loves a bit of tennis outside of chess. Now rook d8, and this is the problem. Neiman's bouncing back and forth. Meanwhile, Hikaru cracking on with a plan. The bishop retreating once more. The seahorse is spawned again. Bishop e7, but look at the rearrange of these knights. They're hopping like a mad Kermit. Now we see bishop g4. I mean, yes, Neiman got a new pogo stick for Christmas, but still, he's overusing it at this stage. He needs a plan. And Hikaru now clogs the toilet with pawn h4. Can Neiman arrange some kind of breakthrough, get into that U-bend, remove the mass? We will find out. He starts by creeping in. Now a4. Now a4 is necessary to stop the queen from invading. And queen c4 is technically best here, but it looks so risky, you know, out on a limb. Are you getting trapped somehow? Not quite yet, but still scary. You could also take this guy, but this was played. Now we see rook b1. Rook g6 gets the mini lift going. We know that Neiman's in good shape. Excellent abs. Rook b2, king c7, and Tolkien would be proud as the double towers are on the board. The two towers, the double stack, the rook b8's played, the knight centralizes, and Neiman now blunders. His best move is king c8. He's still a lot worse. But even then, there's this lovely geometry of queen e1 to f1 to a6. And you creep in. Eventually, you're arranging this breakthrough here. The bishop's looking a bit impotent. Come back here. King d8 was played. It's bad. What's the difference is, not entirely sure, but a5 comes. Queen's got no squares. She's in this little jail. Maybe this was the problem. King c8, you can play queen d8, because now, what do? You go to fork Vegas. Queen moves out the way. You win the exchange. And more than that, wham, you arrange that Betty the B pawn to form the attack here. You know, you're threatening to crash through with the knight. How do you fight against it? Takes, and these are coming through. Knight's hopping anyway. So this was played. Now takes anyway. And yes, you can start running, but there's such a huge attack. Knight e5's coming. Pawns are pushing. You know, it's game over. Neiman desperately sacks the exchange. Takes. Queen takes. Now we see the check. The bishop drops back for its final pogo stick. It's in the death knell. Queen takes on a7. Bishop d6 hits the rook, and so it saves itself. No, it doesn't. Check first, takes. Now it saves itself, but we saw resigns first. This was one possible way to continue. Then you can take with the rook. The endgame's hopelessly lost. King comes, blockades, pawn runs. You're in exchange ahead. It's all she wrote. Great play by Hikaru. He broke through 2400 by miles. Incredible stuff. But then lost to Ali Reza. However, won the entire tournament. And in case you missed this stunning battle between Hikaru and Hans, World Rapid Championship 2024, then have a look at the video on screen. Thanks a lot for watching and see you soon. Cheers.